Welcome back to Developing Hurricanes, where we're going to answer the age-old question to pick in the first round or not to pick in the first round. You could call it rhetorical, but dear God, they are going to answer it in a couple days, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm Nick, and I'm here with Matt. Matt, how are you?
I'm great. I am doing well. Disappointed, I think, that the Canes aren't playing hockey right now, but excited to see, what's to come because I think this is a pretty exciting off season for us.
I mean, yeah, Rod Brindamore just appeared on, what was that, the Andy Strickland podcast, and he basically said, this will be a make or break off season. And I went, well, hold on now. Slow your roll. What are we doing there?
He's not wrong though. I mean, I think even he knows how much cap space we have and, what's out there. So I think, it's exciting.
Yeah. So obviously, prospect wise, there hasn't been a ton of news just because it's the off season. Not a lot of things are happening. I guess they announced the Calder voting, and Stankoven finished 7th and Blake finished 9th, which is pretty cool. They had two rookies, even though one didn't really play the Hurricanes the entire year, but it's still nice to see some recognition for those guys for what they've done this season. I definitely thought Blake was better than 9th, but maybe that's just homer bias in that way. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's
thought he
it's
was
hard,
good.
right? I think he was point production. I mean, he had less than 40 points. This was a very good crop of rookies in the NHL this year. You know, and I think playing in this market doesn't help, unfortunately. He would have had to put up insane numbers for him to get recognized, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Probably starting the year on the fourth line and him earning his way up the lineup probably didn't help a ton either. But then again, I don't think the Hurricanes are going to be upset that he didn't win an award because they're not worried about that award anyways. They're worried about a different one. Now,
Right.
one of the big offseason news is that the Canes and Canes fans are going to get to experience the fun gray area within the CHL and NCAA rules because they still haven't officially said what the deal is with prospect rights when they transfer from CHL to NCAA. It's probably going to remain the same, but you know we're just it's an interesting area when as Justin Poirier has transferred to the University of Maine. Personally, I'm excited about it. um I think Poirier is definitely going to be tested a lot more playing for Maine, and especially in the Hockey East comparatively to the QMJHL. And that's not a shot at the QMJHL, even though the Drakkar GM wanted to make it seem like it was a shot at the shot a shot by the Canes of the QMJHL. But if you're looking comparatively at Hockey East and you see teams of guys that are older, that are realistically better, more experienced, more physical, because they're going to be just focused on hockey, and it's one of the harder youth leagues right now in the sport. I mean, I want to see my prospect there personally. It's again not a shot at the Q, but if you have the pick, I'd probably look at the NCAA more personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not necessarily a shot at the Q. But if you look at Poirier this past year, did he improve?
It was about the same, but he had an injury that took away a little bit of time.
Right. So why not let him play against better competition? The Canes for years, and this is not new. For years, they've said that college hockey prepares players really well for the pros because it's a more physical style of play and you're playing against older players. So it would make sense that the Hurricanes want to get Poirier in that type of system. Um, I think it works out really nicely. I don't think he could have picked a better opportunity. Maine's a really good program, and um, you know, Josh Nadeau, I think, is going to be a really nice line mate for him. But
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how competitive leagues like the CHL are next year.
I
Because
still,
there have been a lot of departures.
and there's still going to be more.
Like, I know a lot of people, like, when I was in the BCHL, a lot of people were talking about, like, oh, the BCHL's getting screwed here and all that. But, like, the CHL is losing so many of their top players, and nobody's talking about it.
I mean, well, I definitely think people are talking about it. I think that's been one of the main topics of conversation across prospect hockey over the past few weeks and months. But I think more so because the CHL, they are losing a lot of top guys, but they've also been getting a lot of commits from guys, um, like from the USHL ranks, and um, and I think leagues like the BCHL and the USHL are probably going to get a little bit worse because of that. Because then USHL kids are going to go to the CHL to replace the CHL guys to go to college, and then it's kind of just another feeder system like thing. But I don't know. I still think the CHL is going to be fine. I think it definitely will. The competition level might drop off in a certain way, but I definitely think it'll probably be okay. It just might look a little different. And they've already talked about ways that they can kind of fix or like compete with the NCAA in certain ways. So we'll get to that. Or they'll probably get to that eventually. I'm excited about Poirier. I think he could. I'm not saying he will, but he definitely could look kind of like how Nadeau did his rookie year or his freshman season. I can't say rookie at Maine. He'll probably get set up as one of their main shooters because I haven't looked very closely at the main roster, but I think he would definitely be one of their better shots immediately after stepping in. I think him and Josh Nadeau, sub 6-footers, top line. I'm excited about that. Ooh. I think that's gonna be really funny. Other than that, there's really been nothing. I'm still waiting on any news regarding KHL free agency, but as I've come to find out over the past 10-ish days, the KHL moves slow.
You don't
They
say.
they take their time with what they do. SKA we're recording this Tuesday, so the 10th, but SKA just announced that they released Arseny Gritsyuk and Zakhar Bardakov, who had already signed NHL contracts like a month ago.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny. Yeah, it's just any news is gonna take a while. I still think there's a better chance you'll see maybe one or two of them sometime in the future, but I don't know. And I think that's awesome. It's just going to take forever. And that's why they call it the off season, is because, it's not the season. You can take your time.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if, like, the visa process or something was just taking a while. Because, I mean, we saw, I think it was The Athletic that wrote about, like, how arduous it was to get Nikishin over.
That
And
was a
they were
crazy good article.
expediting that process. So, like,
They had congressional
um,
support to expedite that process.
yeah, and, I just think that it's going to take quite a while
Yeah.
if they're trying to sign guys like Rykov and Yaravoy. Like, ugh, we'll see.
Yeah. Glad you didn't mention Gerdinin because he re-signed a while ago,
No,
but
I did see that he re-signed with
he'll be he'll be
Severstall.
he'll be a top 4 defenseman for another 2 years. Can't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I still just think, like, you know, with a guy his size, like, where's the offense? Because
He has another 2 years to
defensively in the
find it.
NHL, it's a very different beast.
He has another 2 years to find it. He'll be okay. But obviously, without any prospect talk currently, we're looking ahead at future prospects. The NFL. Oh, I almost said NFL. NHL. The NHL draft is what is it? 2 weeks? Less than 2 weeks? About 2 weeks from Thursday. Because again, we're recording this Tuesday, so about 2 weeks away. And it that's where the first part, the intro to the episode, comes in, because the Hurricanes, outside of 23 when they took Nadeau, they have, not to say an addiction to trading down, but they definitely like trading down out of the first round to just recoup value and find other ways to add prospects and or just players in general. So let's just ask the question: are they sticking in the first round this year, Matthew?
I mean, you never want to say never because we all thought they were going to in 23 when they selected Nadeau. It really, I think the way it works is the Canes don't go into the draft with the mindset of like, we are definitely trading this pick. There's every team has their own draft board, and it's all going to look drastically different from any other team's boards in the league. That's just how it works. Scouts evaluate players differently. Teams look for certain things. Their directors look for certain things. Like, that's just how it is. So if the board falls the way the Canes want it to, and there's a player they like at 29, they're going to pick him. But if they're like, hey, we've got an offer that would move us down 5-6 spots, or maybe even like 7 or 8, and we can add a pick or two here later in this draft or next year's draft, like, I think they explore doing that. I mean, like, the difference between a late first round pick and an early second round pick is really not that much, in terms of like skill or expected value, whatever you want to call it. So it makes sense that they would try and do that. But I think, like, if they really like player A and he's still on the board, they're going to take that player.
Yeah. I you know, I I think people also immediately try, because that's the one thing I've seen just everywhere, is that they're going to trade the pick for a player instead of just trading back. And they could also use the first round pick. They could also just trade back, which is what they like to do. Realistically, I think they're just going to trade back. I don't like the guys at the end of the first round are kind of interchangeable. If you look at, elite prospects and like what they have, or you look at like the Hockey News or Dauber prospects, everybody has a different like 15, maybe like 20 through 50. Every single one is different. You're going to see names in one that you just never see in the other. You're going to see
Yeah.
guys ranked higher, lower, all over the place. A lot of years, it's, some years it's not like that. There's been a couple years where you kind of know where a lot of players are going to go early. This year, after pick 2, you're kind of just going, all right, who do we like more? Do we like, hyper skilled players, or do we like straight line, I'm going to hit you really hard in Brady Martin? Because that was one I cannot believe they're going to have that boy going 4th overall. That's disgusting, me personally. But
Yeah, I mean, like, you're looking at the draft, and I mean, it's insane what we're seeing with the variance. Like, there's usually like a consensus like top 3 or 4, and I think we sort of have that in this draft, where it's Schaefer, Misa, Higgins, and then Denoyer has been involved in there, Frondell, Martoni. Less so Roger McQueen, just because he hasn't played very much.
yeah,
But like, those guys are your top 5-ish players.
apparently Higgins
After
might fall out.
that,
So
after that, who knows?
you're basically
So
flipping a coin.
yeah, for me, like, that's what I love about this draft is like, you could have teams making silly decisions and just, yeah. I mean, I think with the quality of this draft class, like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a good draft class." Like, it's not. It's a good draft class at the top.
Yeah,
If you're drafting in like the top 5, chances are, if you pick the right player, you're going to draft a really good player, and it's going to be a franchise, maybe not cornerstone outside of like Schaefer and Misa, but like
yeah,
a really solid player for your franchise. The quality of this draft, especially on defense, like, plummets after that. Like, defense, there's nothing in this draft. And
yeah.
just in general, like the forwards are just kind of a bunch of guys. Like it's not like a fantastic group. So if the Kings use their first round pick in a trade for a player, it's not going to hold as much value as probably either their top picks in 2026.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing there. I think to
That's
me,
why I guess that's
anyways.
why I'm saying like don't be disappointed if the Kings don't use that in a trade for a player, because like chances are the 29th overall pick is not going to be valued super high by teams other than trying to trade up and down.
Haven't there already been, maybe that was just during the season, but there've already been reports that teams are, they don't mind trading their 25 first round pick because 26 is going to be so much better. Mainly at the top because you'll have obviously Gavin McKenna, and there's a couple more guys that will go at the top that are also going to be pretty good, but like that's the big one, is just McKenna. um 26 is going to be more valuable as a whole, so people like from like maybe 10 down are kind of like, we can take a guy, he'll probably be good, but we're not going to mind, trading it away and getting something else, or just trading down. I think personally I would trade, my option would be to trade down. Obviously I'm a prospect guy, so I want to see more value, I want to see more prospects. If they use it to trade for a player, that's fine. Make it worthwhile if you're going to do that. But I think personally, trading down is my favorite option there.
Yeah, next year's draft is projected to be unreal
Yeah. So
at the
20,
top.
26 first is going to be a lot more valuable than a
Yeah, and like
25.
even it's just going to be a deeper draft. Like there's going to be better players available later, I think. So, teams are going to say like, hey, the 27th round or 27th overall pick in 2025 is really worth like a 40 in our eyes, whereas the 28th overall, like the 29th overall pick, is worth like the 15th or 16th in this draft.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
all
think I
about,
think that's something to consider here.
yeah, all about measuring value. And your point about defense is 100% true. From what I've done early with trying to find defensive targets, outside of the first round, with guys like obviously Schaefer at 1, uh, is it Cameron Reed? Cameron Reed, Jackson Smith. You look like a guy that's done a lot of draft prep here.
I just had the page up. Sorry, hold on. So
um,
defensively, oh god.
It's Schaefer, Cameron Reed, Jackson Smith, Kashawn Aitchison,
So
and
the
then like
BP
Brusdowitz and
consolidated
Boumediene.
rankings
There's like 5, I think.
in the first round. The only first round picks they have are Schaefer, and this is like an aggregate of
Yeah,
all the rankings that they track. Like there's looks like
there's a
close to
lot. Yeah,
so Schaefer, Jackson Smith is ninth.
sounds right. Yeah.
Redeem Mertka
Oh, I forgot about Murtka. Damn.
is
Darn.
11th.
Whatever.
Logan Hensler is 18th,
Forgot
which
about Hensler.
Cameron Reed 21st, Sasha Boumediene, Keyshawn Aitchison, and Blake Fiddler.
I'm shocked Aitchison isn't higher. I know the elite prospects guys and girl love them. Love him. Sorry. Or maybe it's just Cam Robinson that loves Kushan Aitchison, but
Yeah, it's really the ones that don't like him is Tony Ferrari,
that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Recruit
Maybe it doesn't. I have no
Scouting,
idea.
and my boys at
Smart.
Smart Scouting.
Yeah.
Which I'll have to ask Josh why they don't like him as much.
It's
I
probably
guarantee you it's the
offensive.
penalties.
Yeah. They don't like the hyper aggressive style like that. But
Yeah,
NHL
I
teams,
mean,
apparently NHL teams value hyper aggressive physical players. So
who would have thunk?
I
Yeah,
mean,
Aitchison's going very high in this draft. I think
top 20,
teams
I would
will
bet. I
will
think
look
it's,
at him and be like, "Oh, cool. Well, there's our antidote for Sam Bennett in 3 years." And like,
I want to say that would be if he is there for 12 for the Rangers. That I think there's already been a report out there. I'm being so serious when I say that too. I think
Oh,
there's already
that'd
been
be
a
so
report
funny.
that they really like Aitchison, which that makes some sense, I guess. But so I asked you a little earlier. Have you done any sort of look at this draft at all?
I haven't looked into like individual players so much as I've looked into like groups.
Okay.
Like I've looked into like the trends of the draft. Like this is a very bad year for drafting defensemen.
I have one guy that'll go in like the 4th or 5th round that I kind of just see the vision, and the Canes would see the vision as well. And it's probably the most annoying name to type out, which is
Oh,
the
is it that Russian guy that you talked about the other day?
Ilyas Magomed Sultanov.
Yeah, that's a guy. He's in height.
He's played with Chakrin this past year, and he's a physical player. He's 6'2". He skates really well, and I'm like, yep, that just stamp it. 4th round. Hello. 6'2", good skater. The physicality is nice. He plays defense pretty good. His offense is almost non-existent. I mean, let's just keep copying and pasting the 3 they took last year and just keep seeing if any of them can turn out. But I like Magomed Sultanov. I hate typing it out, but
Yeah, that's a tough one to type out. I won't lie.
Yeah. There's just I don't really know. I think like because I like the guy that I've seen mocked the most to the Canes over the past few days has been Colin Potter. I don't hate Cullen Potter. I've come around a little bit on Cullen Potter, mainly because his skating is such a big plus. He's fast, he's mobile, he's good skating. Offense, he's a good playmaker. Solid shot. The defense is interesting. But I think if Canes fans see them draft a player sub 6 foot, I'm turning off my phone, because the mentions that I get where it's just they drafted another small guy, I don't have the ability to put a bleep, so I'm just gonna not say what
Yeah,
I was gonna
the
say
mouth
there.
breathing.
It's gonna be the most annoying thing if they draft a guy under 6 foot. But I think you said it best, that if he's best player on their board, take it. Don't care about positional fit or what you need. If he's the best player, just take him, because he'll be
Yeah,
your best player.
let me have a bone to pick with those people.
Oh joy.
Because like unless you're drafting in like the top 5, even then, you should take the best player available.
Yeah, 100%.
Like first overall, you're not like you're looking at like let's just use this as an example. You're not like looking at Macklin Celebrini. If Macklin Celebrini had all the talent and the skill that was 5'10", you're not looking at him and going like, man. But you know what? Like Timur Cole is like 6'4". That's what we need. Like, no,
Hey,
you're
hold on.
picking the best damn player.
The Timur Kolstray is crazy, first up,
But
but I
like,
do understand what you're saying.
but he was drafted like in the 6th or 7th round. So like, I'm
Yeah.
yeah. So like, I'm trying to be like, like you're not going off your board to just pick a guy because he might be an NHL player that's big in 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, I did the math. Carolina had 12 players on their roster this year that were drafted at some point. Like, that played at least one game in the regular season. 13 including Nikishin, who made his debut in the playoffs.
Pretty good.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Obviously some of them, like Nadeau, Fensori, Suzuki, etc., Robida, only played
one or
like
two
one
games, yeah.
game. 1 or 2 games. But the fact that Carolina has had that much success over the years in the draft is incredible. Like, you don't mess with that system. You don't just say, like, this guy's got, like, 30 goal potential at his ceiling. Like, he's a little small, but, like, we can teach he's got the competitiveness that we look for.
Yeah.
Rod can get the most out of him. Like, he can be a top line forward. you don't like say no to that to be like, this like big freaking dude can, run over people, but he's only gonna be like a fourth line guy. Like, no, the impacts of those two players is like, like you're not gonna pass on like the Seth Jarvis to take a William Carrier.
That is 100% correct. Yeah.
Like, yes, it's impossible to predict how these outcomes will happen. Like teams do their best. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But like, Boston drafted Dean Letourneau, who was like 6'7" or something in the first round this past year.
Oh
He
my
was one of the worst players
god.
in college hockey.
Dude, that
Like,
was the funniest thing to me because I
and
hated Letourneau.
and you watch him play, and he's not good. He's not physical. He's not like a competitive player. So you watch these things happen, right? Like, just because a player's big doesn't mean they're good. And
Yeah.
so, like, if you want the Canes to take size at forward, that's fine. They can probably find bigger forwards later on in the draft. There seems like
Yes.
there's at least like decent size in this year's draft class,
I actually
but
have
like
a I have an
they're
exact
not
name.
going to pass on a smaller player just to draft somebody that's big, because like the reality is the way the team's going to look when this player's ready is going to be
Yeah.
so different than they are now. Like, the core might still be there, because I mean we've got a young core, so like
Yeah.
3-4 years from now the core's probably still intact, but like the supporting cast is going to be mostly changed, if not all changed.
Yeah, I don't disagree there at all. Like it's one. What was I? Um, like I don't. If the Canes were picking in that draft where like as high as they were when Sabres took Benson late, I
Yeah,
don't. They if the Canes were there at that pick and Benson was there comparatively to any other need they had, they would have taken Benson because Benson was a genuine dynamic top six player, even though he's what 5'8", 5'9".
yeah. Zach Benson was better than Connor Geeky in Connor Geeky's draft year. Benson was a year younger.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like they're going to find whoever they think is the best player. It does not matter what need they fit. They're just going to take that because they value talent and what they value in a player, whether that be, a hockey sense, which is something they value, skating, like skating level, just they're going to value that more than anything else. And they don't care about, they're not going to care that much about size or anything else. So, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, because I mean, like
Um,
at the end of the day, a player's size should be a data point in an evaluation.
yeah.
It should
It,
not dictate how you draft. Like when the Canes drafted defensemen in 2024, all of them were big. All of them were tall.
every single one is 6'4".
But what was the first thing that Darren York was going to mention, and Tulsky and whoever, is, well, they skate really well and they process the game at a high level.
Yeah.
And they have size. It's like, the size is always an added bonus. Like, if you can't keep up, it doesn't matter if you're 6'10".
Yeah.
Like, if you cannot skate or keep up mentally, like,
You're
it
not going to
doesn't matter how
succeed.
big you are. Like I'm going to use him as an example because Matt Rempe. Like,
Yeah.
look at Matt Rempe. Like, Matt Rempe is a bad hockey player, and all he has is his physicality. And most of the time, he's getting suspended for it. So, like, even then. But, like, it just goes to show that being a big physical forward, like, doesn't really impact the game if you don't have the other traits.
Yeah. Um
So,
yeah, I agree. I just wanted to throw out, so this is coming out Saturday, and Wednesday I myself have a Substack post that will go over specifically 10 forwards that, kind of fit the mold on what the Hurricanes
okay.
like to draft, but some of them don't. Some of them might be reaches, even though I don't specify where they're going to be. I'd specify where they're going to be taken, but it's not like they have to take them with their first round pick, especially with some of the later guys. But these are guys that I've kind of looked at, put as much as my brain as I can to figure out if the Hurricanes would look at them or not. But obviously, I got I did nail Artemonov last year but then again, I've said it a couple times now. He basically had Kane stamped on his forehead. So, I mean,
Yeah,
you watch him play and you go, yeah, it's a Canes player through and through. So, I just want to go through those real quick and see what you thought if you've heard of them before, and if you had any thoughts on them. First one I have is Alexander Zarovsky.
I have heard of Zorovsky.
He's a top end hand talent. That sounds horrible, but his hands are incredible. He is very good offensively with the puck on his stick. There might be questions about, work off the puck, defensive ability, but he does have decent size. He's over 6 foot tall, which I know people will enjoy. He's not a center, he's a right winger. But when you're talking about a offensive talent that's close to dynamic at the end of the first round, I think Zarovsky would definitely be a name that jumps out. He played really, really well in the MHL this year. He played in the KHL playoffs already. I think it's a player the Canes would value, especially if they do end up sticking at 29 or if they pick anywhere between like 29 and like 40.
Yeah, I mean, I could even just given his ranking, like right now, the consolidated ranking on EP has him at 47,
Yeah, that's.
and with him being Russian, that means he could fall as far as like 100.
Ooh. That reminds me.
So, like, I think this is somebody that the Canes look at in like the middle rounds. Like, he's absolutely a day two guy for them.
Yeah. That reminds me of the Corey Pronman article where they were talking about goalies.
Oh
And
my god,
dude,
I saw that, and
where they were talking about goalies, and they're like, yeah, Ravensbergen, he's pretty good. And then they went, yeah, Frolov and Andreyanov look like good goalies. If we were comfortable drafting Russians, they'd be round 2 picks. And I went, well, hold on. Rewind that a little bit. If we were comfortable drafting Russians, I'm glad that
I mean,
the
it's not Montreal because like they drafted Demidov.
yeah, but it's still just a stupid thing to say because how
Wouldn't shock me if it was a team like Boston.
it's just in my opinion, it's dumb because
Oh, it's incredibly dumb.
we've seen over the past few years that college hockey players, namely Isaac Howard and Cutter Gauthier, have been tough in negotiations where they outright said, I don't want to sign with you. And then they have forced their way out. Howard hasn't forced his way out yet. But he is going to unless Tampa ponies up money, which is hilarious. But Gauthier forced his way out entirely. So I think Russian effect is dumb. It's a stupid trend, and I can't believe people still fall for it because it has led the Canes. It hasn't paid off yet, but they took. I mean, Artemonov at 50 already looks really good because he's looked really good in the KHL. I think some of their later round guys, and I'm going to continue pounding the Timur Cole drum. I think he definitely might have an NHL future down the line, and some of these other players definitely have brighter futures than what other players that were drafted before them have. So, I mean, I'm not complaining about it, but that quote where you're saying you're not comfortable drafting Russians is dumb, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's incredibly stupid. Like, I just think you have a duty as a team to draft the best player, regardless of where they are.
Yeah.
And to me, you don't just like it's so dumb. Like, why do you not want to take a Russian goalie? Like, it's very clear that European goalies in general is how like those are who the league is gravitating towards because they actually have dedicated goalie coaches from a very young age.
Yeah.
Like, Ravensbergen could be elite. He could very well be elite. I'm not trying to sit here and say that he's not. I mean, he's got the size for it, certainly. But like, you know, as we've seen with a goalie like Sebastian Kosa, like there's been a lot more of a learning curve for him because he's coming from the CHL.
Yeah. I definitely, and it's going to be the same with this draft because Ravensburgen is a CHL. Ivan Kovic, even though I think he's going to fall off draft boards a little bit because he measured in at like 5'10" and a half. He's not even close
He's
to
like
6
a
foot.
half inch under 6 foot.
Yeah, I don't think NHL teams are going to like that very much. But like, even though like these guys have had strong international performances, NHL level, it's just going to be it's just, you know, and a lot of the top tier goalies in the NHL right now, I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky has a real chance of winning back-to-back cups and helping a team win back-to-back cups. Igor Shesterkin has looked like one of the best goalies in the NHL over the past few years. Whether or not the Rangers have a good team around him is yet to be seen. But it's a lot of the good goalies in the NHL are Europeans, and a lot of the trending higher goalies. The first one that just came to mind was Lucas Dostal in Anaheim.
Yep.
They're Europeans, so
UC Saros.
Yep.
Really Connor Hellebuck's and Jake Ottinger kind of the two.
Canada has Aiden
oddballs
Hill.
out. I think it was really telling this year when Canada had to use Jordan Binnington
and
as
Aiden
their
Hill.
top goalie.
Yep, those are
Aiden
names.
Hill. Yeah, exactly. Canada has not produced a good goalie in quite a while.
Yeah, it's a definite thing, and that's why kind of spoiler for the goalie draft preview, but I have 4 goalies down, and all 4 of them are European or Russian.
As they should be.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I can't see the Canes picking a CHL goalie. I can see them maybe picking a college hockey bound goalie, but
no, that's Jack Ivan Kovic. All right, I'll take that. I'll deal with that myself. My bad.
I just looking at who the Carolina Hurricanes have drafted in recent years, they're not looking at a goalie that's under 6 feet tall.
No, that all my guys are. I want to say all of them are 6'1" or 6 foot and taller. It helps that the 3 Russian goalies I have down are tall. So, I mean, that's not. If you are worried about a Russian goalie, you can take them. Russia will gladly develop them as long as they want. So I don't have any cause of that. Back to forwards, where we were in the first place. I had William Moore next.
Not to be confused with the William Moore that was drafted a few years ago.
There's a second William Moore. Yeah, see, that's something you would know.
Yeah, he was drafted in the top 10, I think. Hold on.
You might be
William Moore, with Gabe. He was on that NTDP team. Hold on.
It might still be the same William Moore, but this one,
Moore.
Imagine you're just talking about Will Smith.
No, I swear to God.
In any case, William Moore. He's played center at some points, but he probably projects to be more of a left wing in the first place. I made a specific note to mention that he's a Cortex client because I thought that's funny. He's 6'2", 170. He could play center down the line. Pretty good offense. No, not really much defense. He's been in the U18 group and the World Junior group, the USA group. That's actually seems like a really good group, and he's been a nice little leader there. So, he's a name I have down.
Yeah, I like his. I think that this style would fit something that the Hurricanes would look for. I mean, I don't know if he's a center long term.
Yeah, it'd be shaky there, but
yeah, I mean, again, when you're drafting this late in the draft, you draft a center does not mean they'll stick.
Oscar Voulet was listed as a center when they drafted him.
which is hilarious
He's not
because he's
even
very much
close to
not
a
a center.
center. No, he's a left winger through and through. The next name I have now, I put in the thing that I immediately went, it's a long shot in the first place, but I've had so many people weirdly say, I want this player in mentions anytime I talk about the draft, and I go, really? And it's not like a bad thing. He seems like a good player. And I think the reason they want him is because he's 6'6" and he skates really well.
Oh, is this the
It would be
the
the quarterback. Yep. It's Mason West. Now, this is a very easy question. It's a toss up. When was the last time the Canes took anybody that played some of their draft year in the Minnesota high school ranks?
2021 with Jackson Blake and Scott Morrow.
Correct. Oh, I didn't realize Blake played in. Did he?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I can
He
fix
was
that.
Mr. Hockey.
I will go back and fix that because I only had Scott Morrow. But
Yep.
that was 4 years ago at this point. And it's not to say they'll never go back, but they haven't done it since. Maybe that's just because there hasn't been any good players from there. But West is cool. He's 6'6". He skates pretty good for his size. He has a pretty
I'm
good.
not seeing him on the EP Consolidated rankings. Hold on.
He is going to be the funkiest drafted player you will ever see in your life. He might get his own Russian effect because apparently.
Oh, I see him. He's all the way down at 68. Wow.
Scouts and executives they love the player if he sticks to hockey, which Mason West has come out and verbally said he is sticking to hockey. But they're genuinely worried that he might go to college for football instead of hockey. So they're like, I don't know if I want to draft that and risk it. But if he does stick with hockey, you're gonna get a 6'6", good, like a really good skating winger who shoots pretty well. So I put him in there just because people kept talking about him, and it's not that I don't see the Canes drafting him. It's just that it seems like a long shot to me. And that is a guy who can either go in like late second, early third, or some team is going to see 6'6" good skater and go, you're back in first round.
Yeah. I could see Nashville using like one of their like 8 first-round picks on him.
They have 3, don't they?
They've got like 3 or 4 at least.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I just think like for a player being 6'6" in high school hockey,
yeah, it's crazy.
I would have liked to see him produce more than 49 points in 31 games.
It's fair.
But I look at the USHL production here, and 9 points in 10 games isn't bad. I mean, I don't have the breakdown of whether or not they were primary or secondary assists or not.
I didn't look at that.
I'm also seeing 3 of them came in one game, but like, it looks like he played well on a decent Fargo team. I just think, like, man, this is a guy who like has a lot of intriguing upside because of the height and the fact that he does seem to skate fairly well. He has, at least some solid offensive tools. It really just depends on the player. Like, this is probably going to be a 4-year commitment at least because he's probably spending another year with Fargo.
I believe he said his plan was to do hockey and football in the fall, and then when the season's over, he'll join Fargo. Ooh, your eyes.
Play at Edina again for...
I believe so.
Ew, I don't like that.
I'm not taking him off the list because too many people asked about him, but...
No, that Fargo team could be good next year with him, though, man.
Yeah, I think the player is interesting, but it again, long shot written all over it. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, next on the list,
he's a guy that I absolutely think the Canes look at in the second or third round.
If they have a second, or if he's there in the second or third, yeah. Next guy I had, and we've already talked about it, was Colin Potter. really good skater, pretty good offensive ability. Still question mark on if he would stick at center, which is probably not. And he's 5'10", which is going to make people throw something at the screen. That is my Cullen Potter analysis.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's fine. I think he fits the Canes mold and of being a small, zippy winger that can make a lot of really exciting plays. Um, it should be said, like, he didn't play the full year at Arizona State. Like, he played 9 games for the NTDP this year.
Yeah, I think he joined Arizona
Yeah,
State late, yeah. But when he did play for Arizona State, he was pretty fun.
he was good. Yeah, he had 22 points in 35 games. Like, as a young freshman, that's really solid.
Especially because Arizona State is in a much tougher conference now.
Yeah, and he had a really solid U18 as well with 8 points in 7 games. It's pretty clear like the kid's got insane offensive ability. Um, I think his size is definitely something that is going to limit him in the future, but I think that Arizona State's a fine program. We'll see if he stays committed there. He's really one of the best commits they've gotten in recent years. Um, so I like it.
Yeah, I think it's I wouldn't hate it, but that would have to be a first round pick. He's not. I don't believe
No,
he would
yeah,
fall further.
I don't think he's
And
falling further than 30.
even then, I don't know if he'll even be there at 29. So it's next on my list. Actually, probably one of my favorite players if they do stick in the first round or they have a mid to early round second round pick. I said last year my guy was Nikita Artemonov, and I am putting my stamp this year on Milton Gastrin. He was one of the guys I did a lot of. I saw a lot of early stuff on that kind of led me to be like, okay, this guy kind of has something that Canes my value, which is a stronger overall, like 200-foot, like good defensively and a decent offensive skill set. He skates well and he is very smart. And I kind of went, yeah. And then I pay money for Lassie Allinen and Mitchell Brown's Tableau Patreon thing where they specifically hand track games and they post it for microstats to let me know more about a player. And I looked at them for his J20 where they track his J20 team where they track 12 games, and even his microstats to me look like a guy the Hurricanes would enjoy taking.
Mm-hmm.
He's been the captain for the Sweden 07 group so far. He was captain at the U18s. He's been captain in a lot of other places as well. He's played center for international competition as well. It's still a question on if he stays at center, which is going to be for a lot of guys. But if they do stick in the first round or they have an early second round pick somehow, I really do like Milton Gastrin as a hockey player.
Yeah, my question with him is, what does he turn into?
Hmm.
You know, I think looking at his ability, like his point totals, and just kind of generally where he's ranked, I think my question with him is like, does he have enough elite offense to be a true top 6 forward?
Yeah,
Or is he going to be like a third line center the
I don't
next
disagree
level?
there. He just to me, and I've watched very limited footage on some of this draft class, but he just seems like to me a guy that the Canes would see in like the early second, mid second, and be like he kind of tracks toward what we like to look at in players. So that was my whole thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do agree with the offensive upside
Could
questions,
I
but
talk about one player?
depends. But yeah, go ahead.
Depends. Wow. You know, I know we spent a good portion of the first part of this episode kind of trashing on this league.
Oh, we're going back to the queue?
I love Bill Zonin.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's fine.
I've actually loved him since he was at Northwood.
Yeah, sure.
Prior to being drafted, I think first overall in the queue.
Couldn't
I'm
tell
not
you.
wrong. Sixth overall.
I have not done research into Bill Zonin.
He was the top player in the Q draft, but fell to sixth because I think there were concerns he would go NCAA. Obviously, he did not. I mean, he still could. He just got traded to Blainville Boisbriand. But he's an elite playmaker. Plays with a ton of pace. He's heavy. Forechecks. You know, it's the type of player that I think would fit our system really well. And, you know, we talk about needing a goal scorer, but what we lacked this year, I mean, like, it was really obvious, like, how much we lacked, like, Teo Teravainen and all of the, like, playmaking ability. Like, we didn't have a guy to set up our goal scorers. And a lot of our guys don't have the, like, high-end individual skill to set, like, just to dangle around the defenses. Relies a lot on passing and pace. So I think he would fit our system really well, and I think, you know, he should, you know, he'd be a great fit. I love Bill Zahn, and I think whichever team picks him is going to be really happy.
Yeah, I got you. That would, for him though, I do know he'd have to be you stick at 29 pick, because there doesn't seem to be any, like, he's
a first round pick,
first or like very early second rounder. The next, aside from one, I kind of misorganized how I have things, but the next guy is somebody in the third round that maybe like third, fourth, that is going to fall because of the draft year he had, even though he started his draft year as, you know, a very hyped up prospect, one that was probably going top 5, fell because of I can't even describe how weird his draft year was, but it was a fun one, and that was maybe not fun for him, but interesting to track. Let me tell you what, that is Ivan Ryabkin. Now, there are definite questions, and you can definitely say there are questions about, you know, his work ethic and his effort level, and maybe his loyalty to a certain extent because of the year he had, where, if I'm not mistaken, he basically said, I am way too good to play in the MHL. Do not send me to the MHL. And Dynamo Moscow tested that and sent him to the MHL, and he had 3 points in his first game. And when, all right, KHL, 2 minutes in 3 games, he was sent back to the MHL, got sent to the VHL, back to the MHL, and then eventually forced his way, or just went to Muskegon in the USHL, where he actually looked pretty solid. He, again, there are definite questions about effort and work ethic, but when you talk about a dynamic talent offensively, I think Ryabkin definitely deserves talk because he is extremely adept offensively. There, again, questions everywhere else, but if he falls to the third round and he is there when you pick, I think you take, it's a boomer bust type player, and you try and take that and work on those things. All right, my bad.
No, sorry, I'm just laughing because, like, I was like, wow, he had 70 penalty minutes in 27 games. What happened? He had 17 penalty minutes in his second North American game.
Oh, it's beast.
What did he do?
I could not tell you.
I think the concern that I have with Ryabkin is looking at it is that he is pretty much good for a penalty a game.
I mean, there's a couple of those guys in the Canes system already.
I mean, there's one on their roster now, in Svechnikov.
That was one I could think of off the top of my head. I know Nadeau had penalty issues at points this year as well.
Yeah, he like I can understand because he's a teenager playing in the AHL. I think Ryabkin, like, if you can unlock the skill, there's something there. But
You have to unlock it.
he's the reason why teams are afraid to draft Russians.
Yeah.
Like the I'm too good for this, the like me first attitude, like that is going to send the 200 hockey men into a frenzy.
Yeah.
And I think, does that scream Kane's third round pick? Absolutely. I mean, they've taken Anthony Honka. They took Justin Poirier, Justin Robida. Like, they haven't been afraid to take these, undersized,
Well, I guess
enigmatic,
Zion Nybeck
polarizing
would fit there
players.
as well.
What'd you say?
Zion Nybeck would probably fit that as well.
Zion Nybeck, Dom Fensori. And you look at it and you're like, ugh, like, some of those guys haven't worked out, but like that's how the draft works. So like,
Yeah.
Ryabkin seems like the type of guy the Canes would like, but I can tell you right now he's not going in the first round.
Really? I didn't know.
No, it would shock me. I mean, right now, Chris Peters has him ranked 4th.
Hey, Chris Peters hasn't updated those in a while. I do know that
Oh,
for a
he's
fact.
not? Okay.
No.
Usually he's pretty good about it. I know Flo has been like expanding like crazy this year. Like, other than him, like, I don't think we're at Bob McKenzie's final list yet.
No, we haven't. He normally does that like a week before, something like that.
But right now he's at 19th, and Craig Button has him 20th, and like Bob's list is pretty much on par
with how things
with how the
might go.
league feels,
Yeah.
just because like he's in tune with all of that around the league.
Yeah.
So like, it wouldn't shock me if there's a team that likes him enough. But like, was he at the combine?
Ryabkin, I don't believe so.
Okay, because I was gonna say like, if he interviewed at the combine, I would have loved to see like his stupid answers to these teams' questions.
Yeah.
Like, I always find it funny. Like, I always wonder what Carolina asks players at the combine.
Who? I don't know. Who do they send to that?
I mean, my guess would be like Darren York.
That would be my guess. I have no clue.
I mean,
I think it depends.
yeah. I mean, I think, but it's like we don't hear about Carolina asking like the dumb questions or anything like that. So like, part of me is just like, what do the Canes like do at the combine? Like, I've always wondered.
I'll just ask. I'll ask one of the prospects that whenever I go to Dev Camp. Be a horrible idea.
Like, yeah, like I've always wondered, like, did you interview with the Hurricanes? Like, how did it go? Like, stuff like that. Like, I really don't know. Like, I've always been curious about that.
So, real quick before we move on to the next player, I wanted to know what Chris Peters' top 32 was. He hasn't updated it since June of last year, and there's only 10 guys in his top 32.
He's not doing draft rankings yet?
I don't believe so. Because, well, his ranking, he has Matthew Schaefer at 7, Sasha Boumediene at 8, William Moore at 9, and Malcolm Spence at 10. But like I said, he hasn't updated it in over a year. So I think he would probably change that. But maybe I'm wrong. Next up, guy probably second, third round pick. Crazy fun name and a really fun backstory, I guess, is Jacob Wozniak. Crazy name. He is a native born Australian, which is definitely a first because I don't think I could name a hockey player that has come from Australia before.
Oh crap! I can. Not Sean Walker.
That would be a crazy one, but
crap. No. He played for the Caps.
Nathan Walker is from Australia.
Nathan Walker.
Oh, he's the only Australian player to ever play in the NHL.
Yep. I was gonna say because I knew he was the only one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So So technically, he was born in Great Britain, but he lived in Australia.
Wozniak was born in Australia, but plays hockey and claims Sweden as his nationality. So
Yeah, I mean, his parents probably were there for work or something.
yeah.
You know.
So
But yeah, Nathan Walker,
definitely a guy
kind of like an up and down
never thought I'd
fourth
actually
line
talk about
player.
Nathan Walker on a podcast about Hurricanes prospects, but
Yeah, right. No, you never know what you're gonna get here on Developing Hurricanes.
that is 100% true. So Wozniak is actually a pretty tall player. He's 6'2", 174. I think I like that. The one thing I immediately stood out to me whenever you read, because I use the EP draft guide, the Elite Prospects draft guide. I use that thing as a bible for anything prospect related when it comes to draft, because they are insanely good at that. And Wozniak they described as just a lanky shooter, which is interesting. Or a lanky player. His skating apparently is not too great. Definitely something to work on. The defensive game, and I hate that I keep mentioning that when talking about forwards, but his defensive game is definitely not great. The thing that really stands out about him is his shot. He has a very good shot. Apparently, it's one of the better ones in the class. Playmaking pretty solid. In 66 games across 3 different levels of Swedish hockey, including the SHL, he had 77 points. I think most of that came at the J20 and J18 level, but I also think he got in a couple games in the SHL playoffs, which is always nice to see. I think his Wozniak is cool. If you have a second or third round pick, he'd probably be somewhere around there. I think it'd be and he has been mocked to the Canes by one of Wheeler or Pronman before, so
I think it was one of their like joint drafts that they did.
yeah. I don't hate it, but I don't think you would take him in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like, do the Canes like him? I don't know. So, I mean, that's really kind of how it is with the draft until they get their guys. I mean, and that's the funny thing about the draft every year is even if they miss out on somebody, they're always going to say, "Well, we got our guys."
Yeah.
Every team is going to say that.
Yeah, that is true.
You know, I like the comment you made online the other day about like, you know, you or like maybe it wasn't you, but you used it as an example of like, you know, you don't pass up on the dollar because the quarter is available or something like that.
That was not me, but I don't know who was it, but I like it.
I was Chris. I know that for a fact.
Yep. That makes more sense.
And you used Reinbacher over
Reinbacher and Simishev over Michkov.
Yeah, and like Simishev's gonna be really good, and I think he's probably even gonna be better than Reinbacher.
I agree.
Taking him over Michkov.
Yeah, that one hurt. That'll like, haunt me. Who and then Demidov going 5 also is going to burn, I think, almost every team except for the Sharks, because the Sharks took Celebrini.
Who went top 3 in last year's draft?
It was Celebrini. Levshinov was 2. 3 was Beckett Seneca, and 4 was Caden Lindstrom. I would, me personally,
the ones that I think I would have the biggest bones to pick with would be Seneca and Levshinov.
That's fair. I think Lindstrom, once he gets healthy, is probably a really good player. But in my opinion,
if Lindstrom is healthy for all of next season, I think he could potentially be an NHL player.
I mean, he's going to Michigan State too, so he'll definitely.
Oh shoot, I forgot. So never mind.
Oh,
so he's gonna. Well, no, because like he can't like play NHL games and then go to Michigan State.
Oh no, he's committed.
He can't even go to camp. So that'll be a later thing. But
yeah,
still really good. And I think he could potentially show that he's one of the top talents in that draft. You know, I think when the offer with the Canes made that had Natchez for like the 4th overall pick,
I would have
it wasn't
cried.
for
It was for
wasn't
Demidov.
for Lindstrom. It
It
was
was
going to be
Demidov.
Demidov.
Dude,
Yeah.
you got to stop bringing that up because I was very publicly saying Demidov was my second favorite and at times my top forward in that draft class because of how dynamic he was offensively. I think Macklin is the better player, at least now, and I think down the line he'll probably still be the better player overall. But Demidov
100%.
offensively is disgustingly good, and I am very glad I got a firsthand experience of watching that while watching SKA games, even though that was still a trip in the first place.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a trip next year too.
But yeah, that's a little bit of a rant. But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I really liked that point you made because, again, it goes like, you're not taking the crappy player just because they might be a, physical presence later.
Yeah. The next couple guys are all third round pick and on. First one was Philip Ekberg, a CHL player. Shocker. And then funnily enough, in this piece, I went on a really decently long rant about the Canes draft history in the CHL. And I basically said they picked one guy there in the past 3 seasons, and he's already moved on to the NCAA. Before that, they took 3 CHL players in 21. One was Robida, who seems to have he might have an NHL future. Bryce Montgomery was the other one who got an entry level contract, and I still like the player and what he is. The other one was Big Bobby Orr, Robert Orr from the Halifax Mooseheads.
It was not actually that big.
No, and I found out he is still playing hockey. He most recently played for the University of Prince Edward Island Panthers in U Sports.
Sounds
right. Back to Ekberg. I like the player. He's a smart player. He's a good playmaker. He ended his year across the OHL and the U18 World Juniors on a 19-game point streak. He seems good player. He seems like a guy that would be there in the third round. But again, just pointing out draft history over the past 4 years, but they've seemed to have cooled off on CHL players. But, I still think Ekberg is a decent player.
You know what's wild to me?
What is that?
There are only 2 Finns ranked in the top 100 consolidated rankings.
Yep.
And the first one is 77th.
Ooh, who is
this?
This
is an abysmal Heinonen.
Oh, I actually, funnily enough, Heinonen was in my other names to keep in mind. But Heinonen is also a D+1.
Yeah, and he's a late 05, so he's almost a D+2 as well. Like he's almost 20.
Yeah.
So he'll get picked, don't get me wrong, but it just goes to show you just how awful of a class this is for Finland.
Next year's class is also looking pretty disgusting if I remember correctly, but
I think next year's is looking better, at least.
They haven't had a ton of strong draft classes recently, anyways. I think last year was what? Kivi Harju, and who was the kid that was at Everett that I can't remember? I don't care enough, but yeah. Any reason why you were talking about Finland there?
I was just looking at the rankings.
Any thoughts on Ekberg?
I have never watched him. He's a CHL player. He's a Euro heading into the CHL. I think in general it's a pretty bad Euro class.
Well, kinda. Frondell, Eklund.
Frondell and Eklund and Merdka, even though he's playing in the CHL. So the non-CHL, North American. So the players that aren't playing in North America right now that are from Europe. Yeah. Frondell and Eklund.
Yeah.
Gastrin. Ryabkin. That is it in the top 32.
Oh. I know Eric Nilsson is somebody that players like as well. Or people like as well.
And then there's Nilsson, Wozniak, Benak, Nope, just kidding.
No,
Ben X
yeah, I
playing
was
for
gonna say
Youngstown.
Benek was USHL, and Ryabkin would be
Yep,
considered USHL more than anything else this year, anyways.
yep. Kerbin Limitov, Genborg,
Limitov, yeah,
and that's it for
yeah.
players in the. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna. I can't say that live. I don't want to get in trouble.
Please, I don't. We can have another. We can do back-to-back episodes where I don't have to make a single cut. Please.
There's a player that is ranked that I cannot believe is getting a rank.
I'm almost.
Also, say hello to the cat.
I saw the intern pop up for a half second there.
In his little ear.
We're so close to being done. I had two CHL players. The second CHL player was Jordan Gavin. He to me seems like a guy that if you have a 4th or 5th round pick, I can smell it being a Hurricanes player because he's described as a super smart player, and he has great playmaking, and he's 5'11" and 175. And I mainly the really smart hockey player was the one that kind of stood out to me, is because the Hurricanes have drafted players with high hockey IQ and high hockey sense in the past, and they value that. So that was kind of why I put Jordan Gavin down. And I had to find guys in 4th round and beyond, and let me tell you, that
I was
is
gonna
an
say I smell like
idea.
5th to 7th round pick or camp invite.
He'll get drafted this year, but let me tell you, I went digging. Oh, the intern.
He's got a bow tie. It's on his back right now. Hold on.
Yeah, he looks so happy about it too.
He's got a bow tie.
He looks so happy about it.
He does not like being picked up, but he's being needy right now, so like he's okay with it.
Last guy I actually did research on outside of just other stuff was a elite name, Kirill Yemelyanov.
All right, give me a second. How do you spell that?
So Yemel, which is Yemel, and then yep, Kirill Yemelyanov, buddy. Tell me, 4th round pick. He's a 6-foot center. He's he plays good defense. He has a good work ethic. Apparently, he has a good motor, but he might not be dynamic offensively. And yep.
Yeah, I don't know if that screams Carolina.
Dude, let me tell you, 4th round and on is like I'm scraping to find things, man. It's tough.
Well, I think in general, like in most drafts, you're doing that. Like
4th round and on is where you have to go. The scouts have to do something magical.
That's where I think the Canes draft a goalie. Is like I think they try and draft at least one goalie in the middle rounds again.
I have one in mind, but I have 3 Russians. 2 of them are like higher end that people know, and then the other one's kind of a lower end guy that'd be more developmental, but he's 6'4". So that one to me. He also has an elite name, and I think people will know who it is off just being Russian, later round pick, tall, and elite name. But the other guys that I had to just keep in mind were Theo Stockselius, Gustav Hillstrom, Thomas Posabal, who I believe just committed to college today, or just went to he just went to the OHL.
Kingston.
Yeah, he just went to the OHL. Mikhail Fyodorov, who played with Alexander Suryatsky at times this year, Topias Heinonen, like you mentioned, Melvin Novotny, Yuri Rumo, and Maxim Zaitsev. Those are guys, except for Stockselius, who could probably be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Outside of that, all those other guys are like 4th round and on, and they're not going to draft a single one. They might not even draft anybody I wrote about, and honestly, that's okay. I'm trying my hardest. It is a rough thing to do, let me tell you what.
Yeah, I remember for a couple years doing like a full 7-round mock draft and was like, this sucks.
Yeah, I can't do that.
No. I think all in all, this draft is going to be fun. Do you want to talk about our plans?
Yes,
for
that
day?
was going to be the end, which we are at now because it's an hour and 15 minutes in. But yes, I know we didn't talk about defense, and I know we didn't talk about goalies, but we can save that for later on because day 2, not day 1, because realistically the Hurricanes are not going to use their day 1 pick, and I honestly don't want to nothing against you, Matt, but spending from like 7, 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock just sitting here staring at draft picks that aren't Carolina Hurricanes picks is going to be the roughest stuff I could imagine. So
I think it'd be fun because, like, if the Canes don't trade down, then they're not picking until the third round, I think.
if they trade down, they'd probably have a second round pick.
Right, but if they don't,
Yeah.
they're picking in the first
So
round, and then they don't pick
maybe we'll
until.
go live on day one, and at that point we would go. It's 18 plus because we're drinking, or at least I would.
Well, listen, it is a Friday night. Yeah, no. So yeah,
But
uh, I think it's possible we go live closer to
yeah, pick
the
29 on
Canes
day
pick.
one. But no matter what, that's Saturday. For day
Yes.
two, whenever it starts, and I want to say it starts at like 11, maybe 12.
Mm-hmm.
It's decentralized because it sucks, and Gary Bettman is stupid sometimes, even though, funnily enough, you're doing decentralized for 1 year and then going right back to not decentralized. You're going to centralized drafting.
Allegedly.
They're going to go back. People have, like, the public has complained, and apparently NHL front offices have complained that decentralized is dumb and stupid, and it's so much more
Well, it
fun.
was the front offices that wanted it. Well, no, it was the owners that wanted it because it saves them a bunch of money.
Yeah, but it's so dumb because last year it was dumb. The Sphere is a weird location to hold an NHL draft. Do not get me wrong. At that same point, you are not getting anything close to that Beckett Seneca reaction last year if you don't have it in public.
That's what's like about this is, like, the draft is supposed to be a spectacle.
Yes, 100%.
Like, the NFL decentralizes their draft, and it works because they make an event out of it.
Yes. It's
the
fun.
NHL just goes up there and is like boring as hell. It's like, well, we'd like to thank, the great state of wherever this draft is being held.
The Sphere, yeah.
Congratulations to whoever on winning the Stanley Cup. We're picking
this guy from this place.
guy.
Or this place, this guy.
Right.
And
like, there's no, like, major trades. There's no, like, this. And
to be fair,
the NHL just needs to have.
Actually,
like, they need to make it a spectacle. They need to send a league-wide memo out to say, like, we want you guys to make the draft must-see TV.
I think, I did just talk trash on the Sphere because I still think it's a weird place to hold it. They tried their hardest to make it a spectacle last year when the whole Sphere would get this very loud, just noise, just trade alert. And it didn't matter.
Well, I had a tweet that was like, NHL teams looking up at the Sphere to see that the Canes have traded down again. And it was like Bart and Lisa just looking up. Like,
it's so, dude, like, and it was funny because it was the end of the draft and they were still doing it. And it was beautiful.
They're nothing if not committed to the bid.
So I think, again, the Sphere is definitely a weird place to hold it, but they had the right idea of how they wanted to do it. And I think that's what mattered to me anyways. I think, like, I still enjoyed it, even though, again, the location was weird. But again, it was Vegas. You want to have something in Vegas because Vegas is Vegas.
Yeah.
In any case, though, we'll probably go live later on day one on the Canes Prospects Twitter account, and if I can figure it out on YouTube as well. Mainly, though, for day two, we will be live from when the draft starts to when the draft ends. Matt and I, we're going over all picks for every single team. We're going to know everything.
It's gonna be a lot of, like, initially, like, oh, cool, the Canes have drafted this guy, like,
and then it's be the Canes drafted this guy, and we're both not going to know a single thing. We're both just going to be staring at screens, going, "Okay, let's see how we want to do this."
Yeah,
so it's going to be.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a very funny experience.
It'll be the first time doing it live, which will be, for us anyways, for me anyways, being on camera and having to do the same thing I do.
I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna have fun with it. I'll make sure to have more sparkling water.
Sparkling water, yeah, okay, man.
Hey, listen, beer has water and sparkles.
Sparkles. All right, but in any case, yes, we'll be live day two. We'll probably be live day one. Yeah, that was Developing Hurricanes, going over mainly forward prospects. Didn't really talk defensive, but I'll have draft coverage or just draft preview stuff Wednesday, and then Thursday I will basically put all of that together for this thick, big draft preview that the Canes will basically throw everything and all the work I will do out the window, except for probably Magomed Sultanov. And I'll just be sitting there at my screen going, yep, that makes a lot of sense. So that has been Developing Hurricanes. Matt, do you have anything else to say?
Have a great few weeks. We'll see you soon.
All right, let's do that.